May the 4th be with you. And you, not you, but definitely you guys. What's up, guys and gals? It's your host of the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys some Star Wars content on, you guessed it, Star Wars Day, you know? I'm sorry, it's not Lord of the Rings content on Star Wars Day, you know? I know I have failed a lot of people with that one, but what you gonna do? Either way, this particular video idea for May the 4th came to us from my good friend Misk Content. You can definitely go check out his channel. He suggested a couple of months back, not specifically for May the 4th, but as for both of us being big Star Wars nerds, suggested I make a video talking about the different Star Wars mediums. Now, what I mean by that is the fact that back in 1977, when we first just got the start of some fantastic movies, you know, timeless classics, it has evolved into well beyond just cinema enjoyment, right? It has gone to comic books, video games, TV shows, spin-offs, toy lines, and merchandising, and all this other stuff in between. So what I decided to do was break down all the different mediums that I could find, at least some of the major ones, if not all of them, and then go through all the ones that I've either heard about or been a part of or anything like that, and pick my very favorite from each of the categories. So we'll be going through each one. Going to be a little bit of fun. Once again, it wasn't specific for this day, but you know, it is a Star Wars related video that I have been sort of putting on the back burner, and what better day to do it than on the official day, May the 4th. So with that being out of the way, why don't we start off with the big question: what is my favorite movie? So, favorite movie of all the Star Wars films. We're starting off with the big one, the main category for this particular video, you know, the thing that started it all back in 1977. So, what is my favorite Star Wars film of all time? You know, and we can include Solo, Rogue One, and Clone Wars and stuff. We don't need to just include the main movies. I like all the Star Wars films, relatively speaking, but none of the offshoot spin-off films were ever going to win my favorite. It was definitely going to be a core series movie, and contrary to what a lot of people now appreciate more so because of the sequel trilogy, people are enjoying the prequels a lot more. I always liked the prequels. Saw them as they came out and never had a problem. Everyone hated Attack of the Clones. Still don't know why. But yeah, some clunky dialogue. Have you seen A New Hope? Like, all right. But anyways, this actually really boiled down. And right now, I have to make a choice because it's still saying in my little notes here, Episode 3 or 6. The finale of the prequels or the finale of the original trilogy? Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to... There we go. There we go. Return of the Jedi is going to win this one out. Tomorrow, it could be Episode 3. I'm really just picking on the fly. It's so hard to pick between these two films. I think Episode 3, to me, is the true finale of Star Wars, the story, the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. The 6 movies is the start and end, and we finally got the final piece, you know, and I know that it meant a lot to a lot of longtime fans. You know, people from my dad's generation who are big Star Wars nerds, like my dad, saw the movies in 77 and 80 and 83, and he's been waiting all the way till, I think, Episode 3 came out in like 2004 or 5, so he's been waiting since 77 to see this film, and I remember going to theaters with him to see that final film, and I mean, it's the true end of the story, you know, it connects all the dots, so there's just a quick shout out to Episode 3 since I'm going to be picking Return of the Jedi, but man, the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan was just like, oh yeah, like everything was just fantastic in that film, but I am going to be picking Return of the Jedi, and when I say Return of the Jedi, I mean this copy. I don't mean any of the DVD copies, because you can't get this copy on DVD. Trust me, you can't. You can't get it on Blu-ray. You can't get it any other way. The one you see here in my hand is the last time. There's even a big commercial at the beginning of this tape saying the original Star Wars that you saw in theaters, this is the last time it was released in this box set, and they weren't wrong. It was never released. That's why I still don't own any of the original trilogy, because I don't like the edition stuff. I don't like any of the changes. I don't like, you know, even though I don't mind Hayden Christensen as Anakin, I think he's a very good Anakin. Changing out Sebastian Shaw sort of made no sense to me. The idea was Darth Vader was dead and Anakin Skywalker was reborn right before he died, you know, sort of idea. So it's kind of like, Changing the Ewok song. Did anybody learn anything from episode 3 that adding big nose to Darth Vader does not work? The silent looking back and forth at the end, and then just picking up the Emperor and dropping him down that damn shaft. Like that was such a powerful silent moment, and it was butchered. So a lot of changes that shouldn't have been in any of these films, in my opinion. But yeah, so Return of the Jedi 100% is just. It was also the original. I talked about episode 3 being the original, like the finale, like the true finale for a lot of Star Wars fans who saw it in 77, or people like me in the 90s who grew up with only the original, trilogy. And sure, there was maybe a book or two floating around, but it wasn't the giant, truly, that it was until a lot later into the 90s. So I'm going to go with Return of the Jedi for a lot of reasons, but yeah, it's just, and there's so many iconic lines from it and all this stuff. It also holds the same weight for me because at the time, episode 1 wasn't even in development when I saw Return of the Jedi. So, or George, I'm sure was working on it, because there's an interview on this tape talking about maybe continuing the story with Leonard Maltin. So it was talked about. It was right there. It was another step, but it was a long span of time until episode 1 actually got off the ground. And so for me, this was the end of the story at the time. And it was the end of the story for a long time. And we can honestly, most people can say that Star Wars is at least considered, even if you don't choose it, to be one of, if not the greatest film trilogy of all time. Granted, there are some other greats up there, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and stuff like that, but this was just changed the way movies were made. It is completely unnecessary for the special effects and sound and all the stuff that we enjoy and we take for granted in today's special effects department, visual department, and all that stuff, but what can be done on screen. Almost all directors will tell you, and special effects divisions of studios will tell you they owe everything to Star Wars. They set the groundwork for everything of today's movies. So yeah, and this is no slouch to that. Like, the Death Star battle was fantastic. The lightsaber duel, still one of my favorite lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars, is Vader versus Luke on the Death Star. Emperor Ian McDiarmid being the Emperor there. Just absolutely phenomenal performance. I could go on and on. I could go on and on about this movie, but this isn't just a Return of the Jedi review. And actually, I think a couple May the 4th ago, I already talked about each movie individually, like a short, 10, 15-minute blib on each movie. So we'll move on. But yeah, so definitely just narrowly winning out, and my mood might change tomorrow, but I'm going to be picking Return of the Jedi for the movie category. Let's move on to the second one. What do we pick? Let's go books. So, book series. I actually own quite a few Star Wars book series. Nothing really in order, no true collection necessarily. I have a couple of novels from the days between episode 1 and 2 following Obi-Wan and Anakin. I forget what they were called. I have some old, The Lost City of the Jedi novels from Scholastic and stuff. I've got this copy. I have quite a few just random odds and sods that I found in used bookstores over the years and stuff like that. And I haven't read an abundance of Star Wars novels. I know a lot of what happens in the expanded universe now called Legends, but the EU, I'm always going to call it the EU. So in the expanded universe, I know a lot of what happens, and I have read some books online or listened to audiobooks, or and I own quite a few, but not. I haven't read there's hundreds of books at this point, and I've probably only read 30 or 40 of them. But to narrow it down, I got two choices. One out of more nostalgia, the other one is probably the clear winner. So, like the movie category, the runner-up to this is going to be The Glove of Darth Vader. Now, this is back when the Star Wars novels were not exactly these big, grandiose, and there was, books coming out every 5 minutes sort of idea, right? They all happened after Return of the Jedi. Almost nobody was writing about what happened before at the time. In the 90s, everyone was what happened in between 4 and 5, what happened between 5 and 6, and what happened after 6. Nobody really wrote a whole lot before 4. So you were sort of limited at the time of what type of media. I'm not saying it didn't exist. I'm saying that the popularization was always having Luke Skywalker, Han Solo on the front, right? Similar. This book is a perfect example. You know, it's sold, right? Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher on the front of a book, sold. So Glove of Darth Vader was one of those type of books, but it was very cheesy. It was very, it was all about this son of the Emperor guy. He had the third eye and all this stuff, and he was looking for the Glove of Darth Vader in the ruins of the Death Star that had fallen. Actually, kind of looking like sequel trilogy had read it too, because the idea was to go down and find not the mask, but the Glove of Darth Vader. So he would put on the glove like as a show of might and power. At a crumbled empire, the last of the Shadow Council and all this stuff was trying to hold on to their might and their power. So they looked in the ruins. They found the ruins of the second Death Star, right? And he went down and it was submerged and all that stuff. Once again, I think J.J. Abrams read this too, it's a sort of idea. And he went down to go and to bring the Shadow Council together under his rule and show as a might of power, take the Glove of Darth Vader, put it on, and show the might. But it was full of dark side energy that this guy couldn't handle. He claimed to be, I think, the son of the Emperor, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't own the book anymore, unfortunately. It was only like that thick. But it was a very, very interesting little story. And for me, you know, being like, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time, it was like, oh, more Star Wars. And it was like, oh, who's this guy? You know, he's the son of the Emperor, but people don't believe him, so he's got a show, but he's actually not the son of the Emperor. He's just this dude who uses the glove, and then the glove, when he pulls it off, because he's, you know, not really the son of the Emperor, and he can't really control the dark side stuff, the glove is actually embedding his skin and torching it and all this stuff. It's a little gruesome, actually, for a Scholastic Book Order book. Let me tell you that. But yeah, no, it was a fun little ride and stuff like that. And I think there was like 6 or 7 books in that series following. The first one was just called The Glove of Darth Vader. But yeah, I'd actually like to pick those up if I ever found them in a used bookstore. But that one, once again, is more for nostalgia. And I think, as I said, I think the sequel trilogy, you know, sort of took a lot of ideas from that particular novel set. But then the one I'm actually going to pick is going to be a bit of a classic, I think, among fans. It's going to be Vector Prime. Now, the reason it's Vector Prime for me is because there are a lot of like Tales of the Jedi, the new Jedi Order books and stuff like that I love. I love following Luke. Before episode 7, in between 6 and 7, I love following the idea that he's going to rebuild this order, that Han's, you know, marrying Leia, that they're going to have kids, and Leia's still working forward to creating this republic and all this stuff. Like, there's so much lore that you can cover, and I loved following new Jedi. Of course, Jedi are so cool, you know, especially when you're a kid and a teenager, you know, you only want to follow the Jedi. But Vector Prime was by one of my favorite authors, R.A. Salvatore, for one thing. You know, he's written the Legend of Driz books and stuff like that, and I've always loved his writing style. I've always, and to this day, I've been recently rereading some of the Legend of Driz books that I own, and I absolutely love his writing style and stuff like that. And Vector Prime, not only was it in his style, which I appreciate, but had... At the time, I didn't like it. And you guys know why. Spoiler alert for Vector Prime. Chewbacca dies, and it starts a chain reaction between the third son of Anakin Solo, the third son of Han Solo and Leia, or the second son, you know, the third kid, Anakin Solo, who takes off in the Millennium Falcon, and Chewie dies on a burning planet or whatever, you know, at the end of the novel, and Chewbacca actually straight up dies. Once again, I think sequel trilogy took a lot of the EU shit and thought, yeah, we're being original. But so yeah, it was heart-wrenching. It was gut-wrenching for sure, and this started a chain reaction about the way Han acted as a father. And he could not get over the death of Chewbacca. He blamed his son for it. And his son was young at the time, a teenager, gifted just almost as well as his grandfather Anakin Skywalker was, you know, with piloting, with the Force and all this stuff. And this was the separation. This was the drama that started. And it continued for so many different novels after this. You know, the death of Chewbacca being a keystone, a cornerstone. And like Joss Whedon, Salvatore was never scared of killing off major characters for not just for dramatic effect, but if it would actually add to the story, add a depth. Like sometimes, even if we win, we lose, right? And I think he wrote it beautifully. And of course, nobody wants our lovable Wookiee to die, but it was a major thing at the time when Vector Prime came out. People were in shock. I remember reading the reviews and everything, and even the non-spoiler ones. People were like, "You're either gonna love it or hate it," because man, that was a bold decision to make. That was really bold. This was at a point where you didn't really kill off Star Wars characters. That's shooting yourself in the foot in a way that Disney continuously tries to do with Star Wars. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Vector Prime for just first off having the balls to do that, because most times they don't, and not do it in some like Luke staring at the two suns, spoilers for Last Jedi, you know, and dying off in this like monumental, like meaningful way or whatever. No, it was just they screwed up. Chewie didn't make it in time. You know, it wasn't a glorified death in any way or meaningful. It was they screwed up, you know, and so that's always extraordinarily bold thing to do. So yeah, I'm gonna have to pick Vector Prime, of course. As I said, shout out to Glove and Darth Vader and stuff, but Vector Prime I think has to go on here just for the sake of boldness alone. For the third category, which one should we do? Let's do video games. How about we do video games? All right, so I've played a number of Star Wars video games. In fact, I'm looking really excited to playing that Jedi Survivor game, or what's the first one called? Either way, I finally got it. I just haven't found the time to actually sink my teeth into it, but it looks really good, and I'm of course going to buy the sequel if I like this game. But I've played a slew of Star Wars games, right? I have played all the way back on the N64 with Pod Racer and following Jedi Outcast, Kyle Katarn, Dark Forces, Jedi Academy was way up there back in the day. LAN parties with Jedi Academy. Oh man, that was the day. Yeah, if you had a rich friend who had a dad who had a bunch of computers set up in a room, those LAN parties were. Oh yeah, that was a time. That was a long time ago. But yeah, that was a fantastic game as well. And I love the Force Unleashed games. The Force Unleashed games, the Wii version, of course, very watered down version, but very different versus the one of course on the PS3. But both Force Unleashed 1 and 2 were fantastic. Pod racing, the N64 pod racing game, man, was mwah. You know, if it's not Mario Kart 64, it's gotta be that. Sorry, Diddy Kong Racing, but that's the culmination of great racing games. But I think it goes without question that the greatest Star Wars games are easily the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. It just, I really can't pick. I love Knights of the Old Republic 1 for completely different reasons than I love Knights of the Old Republic 2. If it really boiled down to it, especially with mods. See, nowadays you have mods, and you can mod the crap out of older games a lot easier too. And BioWare was actually very good to modders across their Mass Effect and Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic. I think I'd have to pick the first one. If once again, just like Episode 3 and 6 for the movie category, I think I'm gonna have to pick number 1. Just overall, I liked the companions better. You know, once again, we had some returning companions. Of course, I like the companions better. I like the dialogue. But of course, on the flip side of that, even though I like the party choices better, on the flip side, the influence system was almost. I completely forgot it wasn't even there in episode or in the first game. And it's sort of, if you're just playing Knights of the Old Republic 2 and you go backwards and you realize I can't really affect their story or the dialogue or the way they're going to see things or anything is sorely missing and stuff like that, right? So for every good thing one game did, you know, there's, even if it did it better, there were tweaks on both sides, right? Like, for example, the Jedi robes, of course, with the nice long with the cloaks, were not present in the first game. And you look a little less badass, let's be real. Some people really like the look. I didn't mind them, but I wanted my cloak. I wanted to look like a real Jedi, you know, from the movies. So I was sorely missing that, and the Knights of the Old Republic 2 brings that back, right? The game ran a lot smoother, I felt. There was a lot more additions to gameplay. Kreia is one of the best written characters in Star Wars, she's absolutely incredible. People have made entire video essays on Kreia. Very, very different type of character. I don't want to, if nobody's played it, I actually don't really want to spoil it. The idea of the Sith Lords in the game and stuff, and so much cut content, so much great cut content, and of course there's restored content mods and stuff like that that definitely help with that. But I loved the game before I even knew there was cut content. I love the game and stuff. So, and both stories are so good and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's almost impossible to truly pick. It really is. But I'm gonna have to go with Knights of the Old Republic 1. RPG, BioWare games, some of my favorite video games of all time. Dragon Age series is one of my favorite series of all time. I think BioWare knows exactly how to make RPGs, both open world, closed narrative, all the stuff. They know what they're doing. They always have. They have very few flops. They have them, but they have very few flops. When they put the true teams on it and stuff like that, the real thinkers on the BioWare staff. And Knights of the Old Republic 1, I just think that story, that twist, it was unlike anything I had played at the time, and I really got to sink my teeth into feeling like a Jedi for the first true time, because I wasn't very good at the hack and slash version of the Kyle Katarn games as much as I'd like to think I was. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Knights of the Old Republic 1, 2 being a very close second. And if you've never played these games, well, now they're actually, I don't know if you can mod them or not, but they're actually available on the Switch, and I got the chance to replay it. Not only here, I've played both games on the channel. You can definitely go check that out. But I've also bought it on the Switch. It's only like $15, and I got to play it with a controller for the first time, because I'm not much of a computer gamer. I love having a controller in my hands. I'm a console gamer, so being able to play that game for the first time on console. Yes, it was released for Xbox, but no, I don't buy Xbox products. So, what are you gonna do? So, anyways, no, it was just such a great game. Both fantastic, great storylines. If you've never played them, seriously, you owe it to yourself to play them. You really just do. But yeah, let's move on to another medium. Why don't we tackle toys, because I feel like this section is going to be quite quick, because it's really got no contest. I love the original Action Fleet models. They're highly detailed, fantastic Star Wars replica models from the original trilogy at the time. I believe they started releasing Episode 1 stuff as well, but I got these back in like 98 or 97 or something like that. The original line, I think Hasbro re-released some, but they were of lesser detail and quality. I mean, I don't know how well you guys can tell in the video, but I mean, these are just flawless recreations of the ships, right? And they look exactly, of course, they're just scale models. Like, obviously, a TIE Fighter. I don't think a TIE Fighter is this big compared to the Millennium Falcon. I really somehow doubt it. But, because this is a one-man ship and this thing's a whole cruiser. But, yeah, no, they're absolutely fantastic. They have always been in the background of my videos. They come with the stands, that kind of idea. And I've repaired them over the years. The only two that I'm missing that I always wanted, because I do have, in fact, a TIE Interceptor as well. Fantastic. I mean, I owned a slew of toys. When it came to Star Wars, I had a Darth Vader piggy bank, and I actually have a Darth Vader toaster, for Christ's sakes. I've got all types of manner of that kind of stuff, kitchenware, weird little replica things, and but my favorite toys are always the ones that are highly detailed, to scale, more of just a novelty, just to own it, just to look cool behind a glass case. Open up the back of the Millennium Falcon, you can pop this thing and, that kind of stuff, right? So, anyways, no, I've always really enjoyed high quality toys like this, and the Action Fleet models, the only two I'm missing, as I said, that I want from the Action Fleet series would be the Darth Vader one and the TIE Bomber. They had a limited number of other ones, but I found, like, for some reason, the quality of some of them was not as good when you look at the packaging and stuff. Like, you looked at the detail and they look more like an off-market toy, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, and I mean, of course, I had toy lightsabers and toys, and nowadays there are so many things. Like, you can spend, like, I think like $300-400 on like a real metal replica lightsaber, like Obi-Wan saber and stuff. But I mean, I don't have that kind of money to be spending on that type of memorabilia, as cool as it would be to have, right? But just things like that, right? Things like that, I've never really owned. I owned the toy lightsabers that you got at Walmart for $20, right? You know, plastic, over clunky, all that stuff. So these are definitely my favorite toys that I've owned, or memorabilia, models, merchandise, whatever you want to call this section. I just call it toys because I'm talking about the toys. But yeah, the Action Fleet models. As I said, maybe one day I'll get the other two, and they'll be in the background as well, the TIE Bomber and the other one. They have other models, like they had Jabba's thing. They had like a B-Wing, an A-Wing. They have, I don't even know anymore. They got, I think they have Shuttle Tidarium, but once again, unlike all these, which are damn, like, there is no detail missing. Nothing's disproportioned. I found all of the other toys seem disproportioned, like not exactly the proper scale, or things were overly large or too small or something like that on the other models. So all my models, you know, the Snow Speeder, the X-Wing, Luke's X-Wing, you know, the Millennium Falcon and stuff, they're all definitely the higher quality of this line of toy. And it's called Action Fleet. They got their stands and stuff. They're always in the background of my video. I love these models. I've had them since I was a kid. I think I'm missing one or two parts. The little miniature figurines, I don't remember ever having them for the Millennium Falcon for some reason. I think mine came with a Lando. I think this was the one from Return of the Jedi, not the one that came with Han and Chewie, but the one that came with Lando and maybe Han. I'm not sure, but anyways, yeah. So one day I'll go looking and find the little mini guys that go with it. But anyways, yeah. Let's move on to another section. Let's do comics. Let's do comics next. Okay, so maybe the toy section wasn't as short as I was intending, and it was just me basically nostalgia rambling about how much I love my dad buying those for me when I was like 7 for Christmas, right? Sort of idea, but because I really love those. That's why they're in the background of this video. I love those models. But yeah, so moving on to comics, this one will actually be really short. I own only one or two. One for sure. I own one Attack of the Clones comic novelization sort of style. It's just following panel by panel, basically, Attack of the Clones, right? I own a Dark Horse comic, the first issue of that. And I own, I think, one more. I never really read a whole lot of Star Wars comics. Just never did. I've heard of them. I've seen, you know, epic screenshots, you know, in Google Images and stuff. So my comic books reading time with Star Wars is actually probably my most limited. Where out of all the merchandise and media and medium of Star Wars, I think comics is like the furthest down on the list of any knowledge I actually have. That being said, one of my favorite series is Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. I love Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. Certain issues were just really, really cool and stuff like that. But since I haven't read that in a long time, probably since I was probably only a teenager or something like that, so maybe my memory's fuzzy and that's clouded with nostalgia. I'm going to give it to Star Wars Darth Vader by Charles Soule. I believe that's the one that Miss had me read. Either way, Miss is probably going to watch this video and he can correct if that's the wrong one. But it was, I think it was a 6-issue or an 8-issue miniseries about Darth Vader right after Revenge of the Sith. And it follows Darth Vader and stuff. It was a very, very good telling. Certain things I didn't like. There were some things I loved. Certain things I would have tweaked or changed or whatever, or been like, eh. But no, he got me into it. He sent me the links and he said, read this. It's a really good Darth Vader story. And even though I would tweak a couple of things about it, I've recently read it, so it's the freshest in my mind, so it's going to go to that one. It's going to go to that. I remember really liking certain issues of Tales of the Jedi, but since I can't really remember them that well, you know, it was over a decade ago or so. I keep aging myself here. But yeah, no, the Darth Vader comics were definitely a worthwhile ride. I urge everyone to read it. I believe it is Star Wars Darth Vader by Charles Soule, because I couldn't find the links that Miss sent me before, so I went searching on, you know, Wiki and stuff like that, and it was like, yeah, it's following the historian and of the Jedi Order and stuff, and then the Inquisitor is in it, and you know, it's part of him hunting for Jedi and meeting this, that, and the other thing, and there's a lot of emotion behind a lot of this stuff. So now I really liked that comic series. I don't know if it's the best Darth Vader comic out there or the best Darth Vader comic series out there, but I haven't read a whole lot of comics, so it's just going to go to that for now. Feel free to leave suggestions for what you think the best comic is down in the comment section down below, because as I said, my Star Wars comic section it's very dusty. You know, we gotta work the dust off and try to expand that knowledge and collection. So, so with that being said, let's see. We've done movies, video games, books, comics, and toys. The last section, I guess, yeah, I think this is the last one. We're going to be covering TV shows. So once again, like almost every category on this list, barring movies, I have, of course, not watched every single Star Wars TV show. Shocker, I know. There's a couple I have not had the opportunity to. Some I'm just not that interested in, and others are sort of a daunting task to get into. For example, I've only watched 2 seasons of The Clone Wars, though I did watch the original 2D Clone Wars cartoon that used to be on, what was that on? Teletoon? Showcase? I don't know. Anyways, so I did watch that, and that's actually quite epic itself. But, so there are gaps, of course, in my TV show knowledge. Now, maybe this is the easy answer. A lot of people liked Andor. I checked out Andor. I like Andor a lot. And a lot of people swear by the Clone Wars. Or even a lot of people say that Rebels is the gem of everything. But I'm going to have to go live action with this one. You know, Star Wars started live action, so I don't think it's a medium that can be beat. And it's the easy answer. The Mandalorian. You know, Kenobi is right up there. I know some people didn't like Kenobi. I don't really give a shit. I don't. I loved Kenobi. Okay? I absolutely loved Kenobi. I had a couple of issues. I have less issues with Mandalorian season than Kenobi, but I think my Kenobi issues are because of knowing the character so well in and out, where Mandalorian followed a brand new character. The rules can change on a dime. All new cast, all new characters. There's nothing to really be disappointed in, or things that the fans are going to go, but that's not to the this, that, and the other thing. Our character wouldn't do that from the movies. And it's like, well, this character wasn't in the movie, so you're fine, right? So, yeah, I think consistently The Mandalorian did a great job, especially its first season. I don't think that can be beat. Second season, we had the hallway. I mean, and even though people seemingly didn't like the deep fake, it looked great. I don't care. People thought it looked weird. I thought it looked fine. It's like Rogue One Leia. Looked absolutely fine to me. I had no problem with it, you know? Like, if we're gonna complain about a series that started with practical model effects, you know, and makeup, and today's level CGI able to restore to that level, and we're gonna complain? I mean, I just think we're a bunch of entitled, greedy people. That's what I think, because I absolutely loved everything to do with that, and I am very excited for the Ahsoka series. Continuing on with that, Mandalorian Season 3, I have finished, and I will admit, I'm not going to spoil anything here, because I'm probably going to make a video on that, since I already made one on Season 1 and 2. Yeah, that was definitely the worst season. It was the worst season. It's not terrible. A lot of people are tearing it down. It's definitely far weaker than Seasons 1 and 2, but it has some great moments. It's got some shining moments. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to give it to The Mandalorian overall. And once again, I think The Mandalorian, you should credit it with sort of taking off, because had it failed, a lot of these projects, even as far as the Kenobi series, might not have happened. So if you love Andor, and you like Kenobi, and you like, a lot of people didn't like the Book of Boba Fett. I like the Book of Boba Fett. And if you like, the Ahsoka show, right? Everyone's so hyped for that. And if that ends up being awesome, right? So, once again, had The Mandalorian flopped, a lot of these projects would never have gotten off the ground or greenlit. At least not for a long time, and probably not by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, even though of course they know what they're doing, and that's why it was a success. But had that flopped, a lot of these TV shows, you know, granted, probably wouldn't have happened. So also you got to give a little credit back to how they got off the ground in the first place. So yeah, I think I'm going to give it to that one. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, they love the Clone Wars and stuff. And as I said, I've watched a couple seasons. I like it. I'm just not wowed by it. The Mandalorian has wowed me at times. Kenobi wowed me at times. Nostalgia a little more for Kenobi. I get it, because I feel like we didn't get enough Hayden and Ewan together. I think we never. I think we were almost robbed of not getting that to turn into a couple more movies. Like a episode 2.5 where we get to see them hanging out and stuff. And that's basically what the Clone Wars does, to a lesser extent. Not necessarily with Hayden and Ewan, of course, but it does give us that friendship, that brotherhood that they shared, and I think it's one of the best relationships in all of Star Wars. So, but yeah. So I guess that pretty much ends it off. So favorite movie was, I think, let's do a quick rundown. Favorite movie was Episode 6. Favorite TV show was Mandalorian. Favorite video game was Knights of the Old Republic. Favorite book was Vector Prime. Favorite comic was Star Wars Darth Vader by Charles Soule. And my favorite merchandising or toys models is the Action Fleet, set by a toy line that I don't even know if exists anymore. It begins with a G. Anyways, so there we go. That's it. So here at the end of the video, I'm going to add one bonus category, actually, that I sort of forgot. I don't know how I forgot, because it's played the world over in arenas for sports and everything else, is, of course, the music. The music of Star Wars. So, I mean, you can take it from TV shows, video games, the movies, what have you. And some of my favorite music actually comes from the video games. In fact, I love the Jedi Enclave music. Probably my favorite score in all of video games was the Jedi Enclave one from Knights of the Old Republic 2. But I'm going to go out on a limb, because a lot of people, of course, they love the Imperial March. They love the original, the Star Wars, the classic ones, the ones that play Vader's theme and stuff, the ones that play at hockey games and stuff like that, right? Yes, all the music by John Williams is phenomenal. It's perfect. And most people who enjoy the prequels will say easily Duel of Fates, right? People will say Duel of Fates. There's another great one. I'm going to go off on a limb and use the change of tone version of Duel of Fate, shall we will. I'm going to use Episode 3's Anakin versus Obi-Wan from the Episode 3 soundtrack by John Williams. Once again, it's got Duel of Fate's same sound in it, but this one has, of course, the crescendo, the chorus, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not that musically inclined, but it's got that very sad, mournful sound by the choir and everything, as it's not this necessarily super as epic as it is a tragedy. It showcases it. You can hear the sorrow in the melody, that this is a losing battle, because of course in the movie, in the context of the movie, when this theme is playing, we have Anakin versus Obi-Wan, the fall of Anakin Skywalker, fighting against his brother, his friend, his mentor, all these things, and finally having to let go. And it's the culmination, of course, the true final death of Anakin Skywalker and the birth of Darth Vader. And it's very sad and very mournful. And we knew it was going to happen, but it doesn't hurt any less. Alongside of not necessarily any relationship between the two, but while that's going on, the other duel that's going on is, of course, Yoda versus Palpatine, which is, we know Palpatine is not destroyed. We know that Yoda is a badass. It's epic, the way he starts the fight, all his one-liners, when he first walks into a room, bam, I got no time for anybody, I'm here to do a job, I'm here on business. And we all know Yoda means business, but we know Yoda can't possibly win. Now, I will say one thing, that the movie missed out on something. Don't know if it was a deleted scene. Apparently, there's over an hour of deleted footage from Episode 3. If we can have extended Lord of the Rings for 3 extra hours, we can have an extra hour of Star Wars. Come on, Disney. Let's chop. But, because Episode 3 is so great. But the novelization actually made it clear as to why Yoda had to run away, and I really wish they had have added that in. For those of you who don't know, you can just go check it out. But basically, as Yoda would have climbed back up, because it's like, okay, yeah, but you can find your lightsaber and keep going, right? You're winning. But apparently a squadron of clone troopers showed up, started shooting, blah, blah, blah. Yoda had to make an escape, right? Apparently, that's what the novelization said or implied. I never read it myself, but that's what, I heard through the grapevine. So, but that soundtrack and that melody showcases that we're gonna lose. This is epic lightsaber battles and stuff, and it's the climax of the story of the trilogy and of the movie, but it's filled with sadness and sorrow because we know Yoda's gonna lose, and we know Anakin is going to be lost forever until many years later. So it's heart-wrenching. It's a beautiful melody. I think that wins out, honestly. I've talked about it enough here. I think that one wins out. If not that one, I'm actually going to choose another one from the prequels. I know. I'm an original trilogy lover here, guys. But I think that John Williams might have made some of the most epic, some of his best works in the prequel trilogy. The other one is Anakin and Padme. Anakin and Padme's theme from the Attack of the Clones soundtrack. It is when that final beat starts and you start hearing the strings and all that stuff. It's just gorgeous. It's done when they're entering the execution grounds. It's so beautiful. It's some of the best music I've ever heard in my life, alongside of course, when they get married at the end of the movie. I think that sound is fantastic. I don't think they actually ever use it in episode 3. Maybe they were intending to. Once again, apparently there's over an hour of footage lost, not just deleted scenes, but entire storyline. The movie could have been an extra hour long, and I'm waiting for it. But yeah, so I think I'm going to pick Anakin versus Obi-Wan, but quick shout out to Anakin versus Padme, because I don't think either of these get enough love because of maybe the hate for the prequels and the hate for Attack of the Clones specifically. I don't think the Anakin, Padme, or even the soundtrack alone gets enough love as a result of that. And since everyone seems to love Duel of Fates, I don't think Anakin versus Obi-Wan gets enough credit for being in my opinion, the better version of an already fantastic song. So either way, that's the quick bonus round included. So let me know what your favorite soundtrack, song, whatever, OST, whatever, from Star Wars in the comment section down below as well. And with that, happy Star Wars Day, everyone. Did you guys enjoy the video? And let me know what your personal favorites for all the categories are. Movies, TV shows, comics, etc. Let me know which one you picked, and tell me why, have you played Knights of the Old Republic and you just think Force Unleashed is the better game? Do you think that maybe, Vector Prime actually was a terrible book? Do you hate Return of the Jedi, or do you think that Episode 2 is the best movie, and here's why? Let me know down in the comment section down below. I'm always grateful to hear from you guys. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz, and that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed and are having a great week and enjoying some Star Wars related content alongside my video, because it is, you can't enjoy Star Wars any other day of the year, obviously, May the 4th, right? But yeah, so that's it. Hope you guys enjoy, and once again, May the 4th be with you.